Well, welcome back, folks. This is another shop talk, and since the theme recently has been carburetors, I thought I would share with you two little tips that I've used over the years to clean and try to salvage the needle valve, otherwise known as the fuel valve. This is a valve that lets the fuel into the carburetor float bowl. So I'm going to show you a method that I use with a caveat to salvage these fuel valves, and often you can clean them up enough to reuse them and not replace them. They can be quite expensive. This will not work. What I'm going to share with you right now will not work on fuel valves. The needles itself that is tipped with either nitrile or Viton, that is a rubber coating on the tip of the needle itself. This one is not coated with either one of those rubber-like components. This is plain old. I think again it's stainless steel. What we're going to do today is basically lamp it in. Now the seat, the needle seat itself, I've already cleaned up. I've touched up on the wire wheel, as you can see there, and I've hosed it down with some brake cleaner to get out any crud. And what I'm going to use is a little valve grinding compound. You can also use toothpaste, anything that's got a mild abrasive in it. And I'm going to use this compound to lap or attempt to lap this valve into its seat to clean it up. Now the problem with a small needle and seat like this, and this is about as small as I get, is that the needle sits flush with the body of the seat, as you can see there. It doesn't protrude. The only thing that protrudes above it, above the seat itself here, the brass, is the tip. And we have to have a way to secure that needle to either turn the needle or hold the needle and turn the seat. Some of these fuel valves do protrude up above the brass seat a bit, and you can actually get a hold of it with a piece of vinyl tubing. This one you can't. So what I did, you had to improvise here a little bit. I just took a piece of the external sheathing off Romex wire. This is off of either number 10 or number 12. It was pretty heavy copper wire, you know, the kind of wiring you put in the walls of your house. I have quite a bit of this around from projects over the years. So I just stripped off a piece, as you can see there, and then split the end, so that that can fit down over, I think you can see that, the needle like that. Just enough to give me a little grip. And again, improvisation here is the key. So what I'm going to do is just take a little bit of this, compound valve, grinding compound. I have used toothpaste, but usually I just use valve grinding compound because I have it around. And I put a little bit on the tip of the needle. And then I insert the needle into the seat. I'm going to use my little homemade holder here that's split, and I'm going to locate that right over the top of that needle like that to hold the needle. I'm going to hold the needle with that red sleeving and rotate, like you can see there, the body of the seat, and reposition, easier said than done on something this small, every so often, and just continue to do that like that. And that'll clean up any debris or any contamination in the bottom of the seat where those two components come together. I've had pretty good luck with this technique. I can't say it will work all the time, because if the needle, especially, which I think is stainless steel, is worn to the point that it's got deep grooves in it, you might not be able to lap it enough to get it to seal properly. I rotate it like that and just continue that process until you feel that you've got it lapped in as good as you can possibly do. When you're done, take it apart, and clean it up really well with carburetor cleaner or brake cleaner to get all that compound both out of the seat itself and off the tip of the needle. Which I'm going to go do right now. I'm going to clean this up, and then I'm going to move on to the second part of this two-part shop talk on carburetors and fuel valves. So I'll be right back. For the second part of this shop talk, I'm going to show you how you can test to see if you've got a leaking needle or fuel valve. This is the left carburetor that I just finished cleaning a short time ago. I have not taken it outside yet to do the soda blasting. I thought I'd do this first. But taking the needle, valve, and seat, make sure they're good and clean. So if you used grinding paste or toothpaste or any compound to attempt to lap those in, make sure it's clean because you don't want to get any of that compound down into your carburetor. But the first thing I'm going to do, put this together, this assembly together. This is the original valve, this is the original gasket that came off of this valve, and it fits right in there on the carburetor. So I'll get this started in and just use a nut driver to put it together. Snug it down. That'll come back out because I have to still soda blast this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little filler so that I can fill this carburetor body up with just regular tap water. I'm going to use this old leftover needle plunger. In case anyone has any funny ideas about this, we used to have large animals, horses, llamas, and goats. We don't anymore. And my vet used to leave me pre-measured out medications quite often. There used to be a needle on the end of this, and we would have to inject them with medications from time to time. So that's why I have a whole bag of these that I just kept. And they're really handy around the shop for things like this. Obviously, it's been cleaned. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to adapt this to fit onto this filler nipple right here by taking a couple of different pieces of just vinyl tubing. And since this and this are two different sizes, I just had to make up a little easy adapter here by taking two different sizes of this vinyl tubing. I'm going to fit the one into the other like that. Then I'll place a larger end over the infeed nipple on the carburetor like that. And then this injector will fit nicely like that. And then I'll put water in here. And then I'll be able to test the float valve assembly here to see if it leaks. So let me go ahead and reset up a little bit for you here, and I'll show you how that works. So in the plunger, I have, as you can see there, I think, fresh clean water out of the tap, inserted the plunger, and then drew it back just enough to create a vacuum so the water doesn't dribble out. Then I can just take this and put it over that carburetor nipple like that. And what I'm going to do is, I'm sure you can tell, I'm just going to gently push down on that plunger, fill that carburetor bowl, or rather the bowl's not on, I should say. I'm going to fill the carburetor body with water. I'm going to insert the needle, and I'm just going to hold it closed with my finger and see if it leaks. So let me get the camera underneath and I'll position it for you so you can see what I'm doing. In this shot you can see the body of the fuel valve is mounted right where my finger is pointing right there. I'll pan up and you can see the plunger arrangement vertically above it and with the water right there in the tube. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take the needle valve itself right there and we're going to insert it into the body of the valve seat. And I'm going to just use a pencil here to hold it closed, like that. So if you watch carefully, I move that up and down, you can see the valve. So now I'm going to hold it closed gently and press down on the plunger and start filling the carburetor with water. And we're going to see if it leaks. See that if I move it? See that? Or I close it. Open, close. A little more water. The main objective, of course, is to hold it closed. I suppose if you wanted to, you could rig up something to hold this closed overnight. You could even perhaps put the float bowl back on with a gasket and see if it leaks. Fill it with water. You can see there's water in the tube right here. But what I usually do is just let this sit for a couple of minutes like this, and I'll see if any water, in this case, weeps. If it doesn't, I consider this good to go. If you get leaks, you'll usually see it pretty quickly. But again, you could rig up something and do a little longer term test. But if I relieve this just a little bit, watch what happens. See the water? So in essence, that's just a quick little down and dirty way to see. Again, there's water all over right now. If your needle valve is good, if you don't want to bother with this, certainly you could go ahead and round up, purchase new ones. Sometimes they're hard to find, and sometimes they're expensive. But I've used this technique many times in the past to validate the integrity of the seat and the needle, and it's really never given me a problem. So I just thought I'd share that with you. Whether you choose to use it or not is up to you, but it has worked for me in the past. That's it for this video, folks. As usual, thanks for watching.